On this video, we look for a very rare American visitor, we see lots of ducks and geese, and Kaylee breaks the rules. Hey folks, we're in Essex in a travel lodge. Obviously the van's off the road at the moment. We've just done our 4.5 or so hour journey, which went actually exceptionally well.
Really well.
And tomorrow morning we're going to go, hopefully, to find a northern water thrush that's been seen sporadically for the last 2 days. And we might get some other birds. And then tomorrow, maybe even up to Yorkshire. Lots of travelling. It's a big adventure.
And it's this one's birthday.
And it's my birthday. And the grand old age of... Anyway. See you in the morning. The next morning we got up early with the intention of getting there before most of the other birders. It's early, it's cold. I think it's called Haybridge in Essex, after the northern water thrush. We've come pretty sharpish because
very quickly.
Yeah, because apparently yesterday there was like scrums and skirmishes and all sorts. We're hoping to see this bird today, although it's apparently pretty elusive and yeah, not an easy one to get.
Exciting.
But it's pretty exciting. Stick with us. This is, I think, the only record for certainly a decade or so. When we arrived, most of the other birders had had the same idea, but got up earlier. There were loads of them there, looking over a small stream by a sluice. One of the other birders informed us that the water thrush had been seen that morning, but only briefly. We joined all the other people and watched this area for hours, the only small birds present really being the house sparrows. There was some excitement as a bird flew out of the brambles calling and landed in an area opposite, but no one got confirmation or eyes on it. By this time we were freezing cold and decided, regrettably, it was time to move on. Hey folks, it's utterly freezing out there. It's very cold. No sign on the water thrush. There's a lot of people there.
I think even if you were going to see it, it would be very brief.
Yeah, and I don't think we get footage, and those are the rules. We've got to get footage. So, by the looks of it, it flew across and made a sound. I thought I heard it. I don't think I saw it. Anyway, a load of people rushed over, but nobody relocated it, and the vegetation was nuts. So I don't think they could have if they tried. So unfortunately, that's a bit of a disappointment and not a great way to start our day. So we're going to head off now to Abberton Reservoir and see if we can pick up a few ducks to add to our year list. Feeling a little upset after not hitting our target species, we thought we'd get our head back in the numbers game, trying to hit as many bird species as we can towards our 240 big ear target. After our slight disappointment with the water thrush, we have decided to go to Abberton Reservoir, which has been historically pretty good for waterfowl for us, ducks and geese and such. So that should be good for marking off our year list. In the distance there were rafts of ducks. Near in there were fewer, but we picked out tufted duck and also this pair of gadwall that was amongst them. Abberton Reservoir is a big piece of water, so we began by taking a walk round some of the viewpoints. In between, picking up a flock of long-tailed tits that included this one, and in a field across from us, a hunting kestrel. This was not the first we saw this weekend. We saw dozens as we travelled around the east of the country. We went from the viewpoints to the two causeways that run across the reservoir at its westerly end. The first causeway, the biggest, was quieter than last time we were here, but we did see some species, including this very close pochard that was preening near us. We did watch this bird for quite a while, and a few goosander, or for our viewers across the Atlantic, the common merganser. The birds here seem to just consist of male birds, and we saw a handful of them, some coming very, very close to the causeway, giving us some really nice views. These birds are extremely handsome in their clean plumage. Looking over the side of the causeway's concrete structure, we noticed a little bird. This turned out to be a rock pipit. It was feeding along the water's edge. It was wandering up and down, picking up insects as it went by. And whilst we were watching this, a gull flew in. that wasn't, for a change, a black-headed gull. This was a common gull. They aren't that common. They're certainly not as numerous as many of the other species of UK gulls. So we were very happy to get this one ticked off the list. We then headed to the car and drove the couple of minutes round to the other causeway, which was right at the far edge of the reservoir. This has been good in the past for geese. When we arrived, there were plenty of ducks present, including this group of shovelers that were swimming around at mid-distance. Close in, there was the ubiquitous mallard duck, this one displaying to its mate, which was quite nice to see. There was a few small birds on the edge of the water, first namely being the pied wagtail. There was 2 of these that were wandering around, picking out food as they went by. As these 2 lovely birds flew away, a small bird flew in, and when we picked it out quite close, it was a male chaffinch. It stuck around and sat on a branch for quite a while, giving us excellent views. But now it was time to tick some geese off our list. And firstly, the most common goose. Although originally an introduced species, it's taken over the UK, and that's the Canada goose. There's plenty of them here. Also, alongside them, there's another common goose called the grey-lag goose. This species is the ancestor of most domestic geese, and with this, most of the grey-lag geese in the UK originate from domestic stock. There are some truly wild grey-lag geese, but they generally turn up in Scotland or just winter in the UK. Another goose I really wanted to tick off the list, and one of the reasons I came here, because this is a reliable spot for them, is the Egyptian goose. Although an introduced species, they're now naturalised in the UK, but are reasonably local and usually to the southeast of the country. Now though, it was time to move on and go a little bit north into Cambridgeshire for another duck, but a rarer one. Hey folks, we're at St Ives, but not the one in Cornwall. We're in the one in Cambridgeshire. We're looking for a smew, and apparently this is where it's been showing. It's horrendously muddy underfoot, so I'm gonna try not to fall over, and we're gonna see if we can find us a smew. My initial scan on the little piece of water at St Ives produced some great crested grebe and also a couple of coot. Luckily, as I went on forward, Kaylee bumped into a gentleman who'd seen the smew and gave us directions, which was really useful as we soon found it. It was at a distance, but it was showing wonderfully fishing in the lake. We walked down a thin path to try and get a better view. We couldn't get much closer to it, but it gave me slightly clearer views of this wonderful black and white duck. This is a species we'd only ever seen once, so this was nice to catch up with it before it went dark. There were a couple of other birds on the water, a nice one being this male goldeneye that swam past as we were about to leave. This somewhat made up for us not seeing the water thrush this morning. Success! We got our smew, and it was a lovely male as well. A little bit of a distance, but still wonderful to see. So it's pretty much the end of the day. So we're going to head up north, see what we see tomorrow.
You can never get away with this mud, you mean?
This mud's horrendous. As we were driving north towards our overnight stay, we spotted a bird of prey flying overhead. Then another. We found a place to park the car on a country lane and saw this enormous flock of red kites circling near a farm. We're not sure why they were doing this. I'm not sure if the farmer feeds the red kites or if they like to roost in this location. Regardless, there was probably over 30 of them there, soaring over our heads and circling. What an amazing way to end the day. And as the sun went further down, a buzzard flew in and landed in a tree in front of us. To celebrate this, we got ourselves some sushi and took it to our travel lodge, then called it a night. The following morning, we travelled about an hour north to Filey, which is a seaside destination on the east coast. There have been some reports of Lapland bunting here, which is a bird that Kaylee's been looking for and wanting to see for a while. So we took a walk on the cliffside path along past a field where one had been seen the previous day. The sun wasn't fully up yet, but we did pick out this family of stonechat that seemed to follow us as we walked along the edge of the field. Initially there were no views of any buntings, just the stonechat, so we walked back to the start and then walked the same path again, seeing en route another kestrel, this one hovering by the cliff's edge.
Before long, the kestrel moved off and Kaylee spotted something very special. I saw the bird too, but unfortunately my camera failed at that moment.
Hey folks, we've just had an amazing sighting. We've come to Filey, which is on the Yorkshire coast. We've just found a Lapland bunting. Well, potentially even two. One's just flown away from us. I haven't got any footage of it.
I'm having it though.
She's having it. Like, that's a lifer. High five.
I've waited a long time to see
this. This is mental.
On this occasion, I'm breaking the rules. We got some really good views of this bird, and I've waited an awful long time to see this bird too. Unfortunately, the camera did fail, and we are going to attempt to try and go back and take some photographs. But this one is going on the list.
When I got the camera running again, the Lapland bunting had gone, although we did have a flyover from another one calling. Looking over the cliffs, I did spot a couple of fulmar, these seabirds being related to albatross but being much smaller. On the edges of the cliffs there was a lot of rock doves, or rock pigeons, or feral pigeons, depending what you want to call them.
Where are we going?
Hey folks, after our very successful Lapland bunting mission, in which we both saw it, unfortunately no footage, but I'm going to go back. We are going to Top Hill Low Nature Reserve, which is about half an hour away now, because there's a very special bird there, a black-throated thrush, which is kind of an Asian Siberian kind of thrush. I've seen one before, but only a juvenile, and Katie hasn't. So let's head there and see if we can find it.
It was a 45-minute drive across the country to Top Hill Low, a Yorkshire water nature reserve.
Hey folks, we're at Top Hill Low Nature. There she is. We're at Top Hill Low Nature Reserve. Just bumped into someone who's briefly seen the black-throated thrush, although it's flown a bit. Hopefully we can find it. We're on our way to its location now, so stick with us. This is an exciting bird.
After speaking to other birdies who gave us directions to where the black-throated thrush had been seen earlier that day, we took a walk through the mud around one of the reservoirs to the spot it had been seen. When we arrived, there was plenty of other birders. One birder showed us the thrush through his scope, which was at a distance in a high tree with its back to us. We both got a view, but then unfortunately the bird was flushed. It flew, we didn't see where it landed, and unfortunately it didn't return whilst we were there. The only bird that flew back into the tree was this cormorant that couldn't quite seem to get its balance right in the tree. We waited for a while to try and get footage of this bird, but ultimately it came to the time where we had to leave. As we didn't get footage of this bird, we're not going to include it on our year list. Not like we did with the Lapland bunting. On the way back, picking up some species like this female bullfinch, which was a lovely surprise to see and a great bird to tick off our list. It was flying around, feeding in the undergrowth. Whilst we were watching this, another of the birders pointed out a tree creeper. This flew off and landed in a densely vegetated area and managed to just about pick it out climbing up a small tree. You can see it at the back, it just looks like a little mouse. Also, just as we got to the car park, there was the ubiquitous robin, although this was the first one of the year, so we thought we'd tick it off. And also I got a brief view of a goldfinch before it was spooked by a car. With 10 minutes before we really had to go, we just took a little look on the reservoir from the visitor centre because someone had reported a red-crested pochard. So we looked out and saw a lot of ducks, including these goldeneye. Also some tufted ducks, these were in quite large numbers there. Eventually I managed to pick out the red-crested pochard. There was a male and a female, the male going under the water for a while, but then soon it popped up and gave us some great views, although at quite a distance. But this is a super bird and one I'd never seen in the UK before and Kaylee had never seen, so this would be a lifer for her. Excellent, what a way to end our weekend. This weekend had certainly been mixed, missing our key species and not getting footage of a couple of others. But this year I'm including not only the ups, but the downs as well.
We just finished at Top Hill Nature Reserve. We did see the black-throated thrush.
We did.
Very briefly and from the back through another bird escape. And then unfortunately...
I saw it from my binoculars as well.
Oh, you saw it through your binoculars, yeah. Unfortunately, then it was spooked and flew off and unfortunately didn't come back.
No.
So I have no footage of that, as well as the Lapland bunting.
So we're not going to include this one.
We're not going to include
year
this
list.
on our year list.
But we will include it on our life list.
We will include it on the life list, of course, because we saw it. We did see quite a lot of other birds, and we got Kaylee another lifer with a red-crested pochard. Woo! So we're going to head home now. It's been a bit of a roller coaster of a weekend. Birding's like that. Anyway, please like,
Please subscribe.
and please press the notification bell.
Bye.
See you on the next adventure.